The number of illegal border crossings from Mexico this year exceeded the total population of the state of Idaho. The Biden administration's handling of the matter has been nothing short of treasonous, but its effects are exacerbated by leftist dystopias like California offering publicly funded benefits to illegal immigrants. What if I told you that Idaho is also complicit in all this? As it turns out, Idaho is spending millions to roll out the welcome mat for people who have no legal right to be here. Taxpayer-funded food and health care are among the programs on the menu. This is unacceptable, particularly in a place that presents itself as a red state. Therefore, Idaho must seize this critical moment by standing firm on banning public benefits for illegals, improving program integrity, and vetting the behavior of government contractors. On this week's episode of Fiscal Fridays, we will dig into the scope of Idaho's spending on illegals, what can be done to stop it, and how these changes could make a positive impact on the lives of Idahoans. So how is Idaho spending your tax dollars on illegal aliens? It turns out that spending is more than just the fraudulent use of programs. Rather, there are specific exemptions for illegals to be on public benefits. For healthcare alone, Idaho generally covers prenatal care, postnatal care for up to 1 year, immunizations, and treatment for communicable diseases. This sounds like a good measure for public health until you realize that communicable diseases are a very broad category of illness that includes everything from the common cold to lifestyle-related infections like sexually transmitted diseases. This covers a vast swath of healthcare needs for any population. I'm also sure that Idaho taxpayers are thrilled to know that illegals will get their free COVID shots. This is expensive as well. Data from the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare reveals that Idaho covered more than 3,800 claims from these types of allowable services since the 2020 fiscal year. This came with a cumulative price tag of $45.6 million as of last June. What is more concerning is the degree in which federal bureaucrats contort themselves to violate federal law, then make states execute on their new convoluted rules. Case in point, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's new recommendations for the food stamp program. This proposal would end requiring applicants to provide their social security numbers to prove their identity. This is engineered incompetence that would allow illegals on the program by simply not checking hard enough, despite it still being fraudulent for them to access these benefits. So how can Idahoans stand up to a deliberately apathetic federal government? 3 simple things: end exemptions for illegal aliens on public programs, improve eligibility verification, and vet government contractors. Idaho should consider legislation found in House Bill 615 from last legislative session to end the exemptions for illegal aliens. Many of these exemptions are permitted at the federal level, but that doesn't mean Idahoans have to go along with them. Doing this would end taxpayer-funded prenatal and postnatal care, immunizations, and broad communicable disease benefits. It would also end certain exemptions for food and housing programs. The GEM state must also perform robust cross-checks for applicant eligibility across programs. For example, in the state's 6 largest welfare programs, between 93 and 99% of enrollees are also enrolled in Medicaid, which currently checks citizenship status for enrollment. This move would allow more robust checks in some programs to fill the gaps in less stringent programs. Finally, Idaho must ensure that third-party contractors who administer some state programs are not serving illegal immigrants. There are some instances where third-party contractors provide services for refugees and other migrant groups. It is important for the state to ensure that they aren't also providing services for illegal aliens. Idahoans stand a lot to gain from a tougher stance against illegal immigration. It is costly for the United States to be the world's welfare state. Presently, the national debt is approaching $106,000 per U.S. citizen. This demonstrates that not only are we unable to support our existing government expenditures, but we are unable to fund handouts for anyone in the world who wants them. When spending on illegals goes up, it leaves less room for tax cuts or for returning surpluses to Idahoans. Additionally, the inflationary effect of overspending is ravaging the savings of American families, often closing the door on their financial goals. In all, a single dollar to fund public benefits for people who have no legal right to be here is too much, let alone the millions Idaho currently spends. To truly take a stand against the Biden administration's treasonous management of the immigration crisis, Idaho must make the Gem State a less welcoming place for illegal aliens to settle. After all, our elected officials have the duty to we the people of the United States, not the people of the world. Thank you for taking the time to watch this week's episode of Fiscal Fridays. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share to spread the word. To access more great content from the Idaho Freedom Foundation, including the companion article for this week's episode, be sure to visit idahofreedom.org. Also, if wasteful spending like this is something that interests you, be sure to sign up to receive a free copy of our pork report by going to idahofreedom.org/24pork.